On this end now. What did you just do? What the heck is all of that? Okay, we're good. Hang on. Oh my goodness.
This is what he gets for asking an amateur to do, to set up something.
Oh, really? 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 Oh my goodness.
Good morning, friends.
Good morning. I have wakened in thy shelter, oh my God, and it becometh him that seeketh that shelter to abide within the sanctuary of thy protection and the stronghold of thy defense. Illumine my enemy, oh my Lord, with the splendors of the day spring of thy revelation, even as thou didst illumine my outer being with the morning light of thy favor. Illumine my inner being, oh my Lord, with the splendors of the day spring of thy revelation, even as thou didst illumine my outer being with the morning light of thy favor. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I hope everyone is doing well this morning. Hi, everyone in Facebook land. Good morning, Farah, and good morning, Adam, and good morning, Geeti, and good morning, Cambiz. How you doing today, Daryl?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm a little off, man. I already told you. I'm a little off. We had a little conversation earlier. I am feeling very, very out of kilter. Had a little bit of an illness earlier this week, and you wake up thinking, okay, I'm good, and I think I am, but I'm still a little. Well, you heard a couple little things in the song there to let you know I'm not quite there. So hopefully it's not as obvious as it seemed to me. But today is really a special day. Oh, I didn't say hello to Nini. I don't know if Nini. I know she's down in South Florida.
Hello, Nini.
So of course I have to say good morning to the lovely and talented Nini. Ha! I miss her. I miss you. Yeah, and she's going to be going out of town in about a week or so. So she'll be gone for a little while.
Right.
Yeah. But I said today is a special day because, as you know, last week we finished our previous book, Proofs of Baha'u'llah's Mission. And today we start a brand new book. A brand new book. And it is The Advent of Divine Justice. It is a letter. Well, let me ask you the question, Daryl. because we had several discussions about this. Why are we viewing the advent of divine justice?
Well, there's a preface to the book that I'd like to read to everyone. And-
Okay. Well, before you do that, I'll tell you what,
Yeah,
let's have a
do
little prayer.
and then-
Okay, and I'll tell you what, and if you don't mind, after the prayer, while you're doing that, I actually meant to put a glass of water out here for you, and I meant to get some for myself. Well, I'm going to get a glass of water while you're reading the preface. But let's start with a prayer. O thou compassionate Lord, thou who art generous and able, we are servants of thine, sheltered beneath thy providence. Cast thy glance of favor upon us. Give light to our eyes, hearing to our ears, and understanding and love to our hearts. Render our souls joyous and happy through thy glad tidings. O Lord, point out to us the pathway of thy kingdom, and resuscitate all of us through the breaths of the Holy Spirit. Bestow upon us life everlasting, and confer upon us never-ending honor. Unify mankind and illumine the world of humanity. May we all follow thy pathway, long for thy good pleasure, and seek the mysteries of thy kingdom. O God, unite us and connect our hearts with thy indissoluble bond. Verily, thou art the giver, thou art the kind one, and thou art the Almighty. And this is a prayer by Abdul Baha. So Daryl, he's going to start by reading the preface to The Advent of Divine Justice by Shoghi Effendi.
Okay, like Tony said, we've had discussions about why we're doing this particular one. And the preface kind of covers a lot of the reasons. From the earliest years of his ministry, as a divinely appointed guardian of the cause of God, Shoghi Effendi conferred upon the Baha'is of North America a very special bounty in addressing to them a series of inspiring and challenging messages, carefully delineating the tasks they were called upon to discharge and emphasizing the relationship of these goals to the fulfillment of their destiny as the chosen instruments for the execution of the divine plan of Abdul Baha. All of these communications, perhaps the most directly related to the life of the individual Baha'is was the Advent of Divine Justice, written in 1938, in which the Guardian set forth the spiritual prerequisites for success in every activity for the advancement of the faith. Special emphasis was placed not only on the imponderable factors associated with the inner life of the spirit, but also upon the human and social relationships which must be cultivated and made an integral part of the daily life of every Baha'i. Now that's really important. Upon the human and social relationships which must be cultivated and made an integral part of the daily life of every Baha'i, describing with amazing accuracy the basic ills afflicting the American body politic, as well as indicating the probable course of world events which were destined to create new challenges, opportunities for the American nation. Shoghi Effendi, in this portentous message, clearly defined the role of the American Baha'is would be called upon to play in the years ahead. So this is talking to the American Baha'is specifically. At this time, when so many of the prophetic utterances of both Abdul Baha and Shoghi Effendi relating to America have a deeper meaning and significance than ever before in their impact on the activities of the American believers, it is particularly befitting that a new edition of the Advent of Divine Justice be made available, providing the opportunity for every Baha'i to glean from a careful study of its pages a clearer understanding of the true purpose of our faith, of America's spiritual destiny, and of the manner in which the individual believer is called upon to contribute to the achievement of this destiny. both on the home front and in foreign fields of service. So even though this book was written in 1938, so much of what it deals with in terms of how we address the ills of the society apply to our society today. Not just socially, but socially, politically, individually. And Shoghi Effendi very clearly lays out a path for addressing the ills of the society. And a lot of those ills, even though this was written in 1938, still are applicable today.
Yeah.
And still we deal with today. So that was, and because of that, as we start to go through the book, you'll find that he was dead on. He was dead on, and the life of each individual Baha'i, if they follow this guidance, would invariably be transformed. So,
I got to correct you on something, Daryl. And I don't really mean correct. I just want to be the devil's advocate. Not the devil's advocate, but I want to start trouble. No, but you say for every Baha'i, and I know what you mean, and I totally concur with you. Last week, one thing I pointed out was, I read this book, or at least a large portion of it, years and years ago. I have completely forgotten everything that's in it. I have. How do I know I read it if I've completely forgotten? Because I have another copy, and it's just riddled with, with notes that I've put in there and things I've highlighted and put asterisks and exclamation points in certain places. I wrote so much in the book, I felt like I wrote the book myself. I mean, like I was reading what I put there. But the thing is, I've forgotten most of it. And so it's new to me again. Mm-hmm. And the things I'm reading now, I understand this is addressed to the Baha'is of America. And by America, we don't just mean the United States. It's also Canadians and so forth. But if anyone can read this or hear this message, no matter what faith, or no matter even if you don't practice or adhere to any faith, even if you're an atheist, if you can listen to this or read this,
yes,
and not almost palpably feel the relevance, the currency, and just the importance of this message, then I don't know. I can't even finish the sentence, because reading this at the very beginning. And taking, I had my phone right next to me, because every time I turned around, I had to Google a word. But reading it, I actually was filled with, I don't know a better word than kind of fear. And that might not be the best word, but actually filled with a bit of fear, even though, again, while I can't remember what I've read in this book, I've read similar things in other in the writings, in the writings of Baha'u'llah, the writings of Abdul Baha, but Shoghi Effendi makes it current, and it's kind of frightening. I mean, at least at the beginning, you got to remember, I've forgotten everything, and I'm just starting out reading it again. So I read what I figured maybe we'd get 8 or 9 pages in today. I don't know, but it doesn't start out. It's like, to me, a movie, like so many movies, action movies, start out with this terrible scene of destruction and so forth and so on. And that, to me, is what the way this starts out. And we've gone so long, but so anyway, I really challenge you all to listen. Get your own copy if you can, The Advent of Divine Justice. And please, please, please do read along and have your... if I had read this while I was in high school, I would have done a lot better on my SATs. I did well, but I would have done a lot better. Okay, I'm going to stop.
Okay, I want to change things up a little bit in terms of how we normally do things. Because normally I'll start out reading things, and in this particular case, I'd like for you to start reading.
Okay.
So if we go to the beginning.
We might get through page 1 then. The Advent of Divine Justice. To the beloved of God and the handmaids of the merciful throughout the United States and Canada, best beloved brothers and sisters in the love of Baha'u'llah. it would be difficult indeed to adequately express the feelings of irrepressible joy and exultation that flood my heart every time I pause to contemplate the ceaseless evidences of the dynamic energy which animates the stalwart pioneers of the world order of Baha'u'llah in the execution of the plan committed to their charge. To anyone who doesn't know, he's referring to a teaching plan. There's been this succession of teaching plans in the faith. The signature of the contract by your elected national representatives, signalizing the opening of the final phase of the greatest enterprise ever launched by the followers of the faith of Baha'u'llah in the West, no less than the extremely heartening progress recorded in the successive reports of the National Teaching Committee, attest beyond the shadow of a doubt, attest the fidelity, the vigor, and the thoroughness with which you are conducting the manifold operations which the evolution of the 7-year plan must necessarily involve. Vintage Shoki.
Yes.
He could have said, y'all doing pretty good. I'm really happy with you. I'm happy with what you're doing. In both its aspects and in all its details, it is being prosecuted with exemplary regularity and precision, with undiminished efficiency and commendable dispatch. Y'all doing a real good job, and you're on it. You're on it. You're on it. The resourcefulness which the national representatives of the American believers have in recent months so strikingly demonstrated, as evidenced by the successive measures they have adopted, has been matched by the loyal, the unquestioning, and generous support accorded them by all those whom they represent at every critical stage and with every fresh advance. In the discharge of their sacred duties, I lost my place there. Maybe I should take my glasses off. I can actually see better. At every critical stage and with every fresh advance in the discharge of their sacred duties. Such close interaction, such complete cohesion, such continual harmony and fellowship between the various agencies that contribute to the organic life and constitute the basic framework of every properly functioning Baha'i community, important word there, every properly functioning Baha'i community, is a phenomenon which offers a striking contrast to the disruptive tendencies which the discordant elements of present-day society so tragically manifest. It's like he started out with the sunrise, and then he pans over to. So what were you going to say? Go ahead.
So just to kind of make things a little clearer, he's saying we've done a great job. Things are going well. Okay, then things are going well in the face of all of those challenges that are still exigent. That are still there. So we've done a good job. But we need to continue.
I'm sorry. Such close interaction. Okay, Whereas every apparent trial deems it necessary. I'm sorry, I skipped a line. Whereas every apparent trial with which the unfathomable wisdom of the Almighty deems it necessary to afflict his chosen community, God's given you all some tests. Whereas every apparent trial with which the unfathomable wisdom of the Almighty deems it necessary to afflict his chosen community serves only to demonstrate afresh its essential solidarity and to consolidate its inward strength, each of these successive crises in the fortunes of a decadent age exposes more convincingly than the one preceding it the corrosive influences that are fast sapping the vitality and undermining the basis of its declining institutions.
So he's talking about corrosive influences. And everybody knows corrosion is not a good thing.
Right, exactly.
And those corrosive influences have to do not only with what's going on socially, but what's going on politically, what's going on in each individual country around the world.
Yeah.
So,
And then he tells the Baha'is of that day that they should be, grateful. He says, for such demonstrations of the interpositions of an ever watchful providence, reference to God, of an ever watchful providence, they who stand identified with the community of the most great name, Baha'is, okay, they who stand identified with the community of the most great name must feel eternally grateful again for such for these blessings of God, for these interventions of God. From every fresh token of his unfailing blessing on the one hand and of his visitation on the other, they cannot but derive immense hope and courage. Alert to seize every opportunity which the revolutions of the wheel of destiny within their faith offers them, and undismayed by the prospect of spasmodic convulsions. I'm sorry. I was going to say I've had a couple of spasms. No, but that's such a descriptive phrase. And undismayed by the prospect, the possibility of spasmodic convulsions that must sooner or later fatally affect those who have refused to embrace its light, meaning the light of the faith, who have refused to embrace its light, they and those who will labor after them, they is the Baha'is, they and those who will labor after them must press forward until the processes now set in motion will have each spent its force and contributed its share towards the birth of the order now stirring in the womb of a travailing age. These recurrent crises, which with ominous frequency and resistless force are afflicting an ever increasing portion of the human race, these recurrent crises must of necessity continue, however impermanently, they must continue to exercise, in a certain measure, their baleful influence. I had to look up baleful. Yeah, it's menacing.
right.
Yeah, their baleful influence upon a world community which has spread its ramifications to the uttermost ends of the earth. How can the beginnings of a world upheaval, unleashing forces that are so gravely deranging the social, the religious, the political, and the economic equilibrium of organized societies?
I think you need to stop and say all of that again, because
Yeah.
this is a very solid point that says this is how it is affecting the world.
Yes,
So,
yes.
in all of these ways. So if you'll repeat that.
How can the beginnings of a world upheaval, unleashing forces that are so gravely deranging the social, the religious, the political, and the economic equilibrium of organized society, throwing into chaos and confusion political systems, racial doctrines, social conceptions, cultural standards, religious associations, and trade relationships? How can such agitations on a scale so vast, so unprecedented, fail to produce any repercussions on the institutions of a faith of such tender age, whose teachings have a direct and vital bearing on each of these spheres of human life and conduct? If you're wondering what all that means, it means just because you're Baha'i
That's right.
doesn't mean you're exempt.
Or unaffected.
Exactly, that's right. It doesn't mean you will not be affected by all of these cataclysmic things that are going on and that will continue to go on. Remember, again, this was written in 1938. It was, that's been 80 something years ago now.
That's right.
And it's like nothing seems to have changed. So, little wonder, therefore, if they who are holding aloft the banner of so pervasive a faith, again, the Baha'i faith, little wonder, therefore, if they who are holding aloft the banner of so pervasive a faith, so challenging a cause, find themselves affected by the impact of these world-shaking forces. He says, of course you're going to be affected by it. Little wonder if they find that in the midst of this whirlpool of contending passions, their freedom has been curtailed, their tenets condemned, their institutions assaulted, their motives maligned, their authority jeopardized, their claim rejected. Again, don't be surprised if all of these things going on in the world, again, have an effect on Baha'i life. Again, we're not, I don't even know how to say it. I keep saying exempt. I don't want to use that word again. You can't live, you can be a part in this of this world, living your life the right way. And if there's enough, let's just call it evil, going on, you're going to be affected by it. Doesn't mean you have to be following what everyone is doing. You're still going to be affected. You're going to experience the negative effects of living amidst all of this turmoil. Then he makes a mention of Europe. He says, in the heart of the European continent, a community which, as predicted by Abdu'l-Baha, is destined by virtue of its spiritual potentialities and geographical situation, destined to radiate the splendor of the light of the faith on the countries that surround it, has been momentarily eclipsed through the restrictions which a regime that has sorely misapprehended its purpose and function has chosen to impose upon it. I wonder what regime they were talking about at that time.
Well, in 1938, they're talking specifically about Hitler and Germany.
Exactly. Exactly. Its voice.
And you know, even though this is 1938, even though this was written in 1938, these same things apply to the European continent today.
I gotta tell, man, while I was reading this again, like I said, it filled me with a sense of fear is probably the wrong word, but dread.
Foreboding.
Yes. Its voice, alas, is now silenced, its institutions dissolved, its literature banned. We're talking about, again, the Baha'i faith at that particular time. Its voice, alas, is now silenced, its institutions dissolved, its literature banned.
Right.
Its archives confiscated, and its meetings suspended. And that was in Europe. Then he turns to Asia. He says, in Central Asia, in the city enjoying the unique distinction of having been chosen by Abdu'l-Baha as the home of the first Mashriq al-Ashkar. What's the Mashriq al-Ashkar?
It's the temple.
Yeah. The first Mashriq al-Ashkar of the Baha'i world. I'll start that sentence again. In Central Asia, in the city enjoying the unique distinction of having been chosen by Abdu'l-Baha as the home of the first Mashriq al-Ashkar of the Baha'i world, as well as in the towns and villages of the province to which it belongs. Of the province, thank you, of the province to which it belongs, the sore-pressed faith of Baha'u'llah, as a result of the extraordinary and unique vitality which in the course of several decades it has consistently manifested, now finds itself at the mercy of forces which, alarmed at its rising power, are now bent on reducing it to utter impotence. Its temple, though still used for purposes of Baha'i worship, has been expropriated. Its assemblies...
Seized, expropriated.
I'm glad you pointed that out. That's what I forgot to look up. Its assemblies and committees disbanded. Its teaching activities crippled. Its chief promoters deported. And not a few of its most enthusiastic supporters, both men and women, imprisoned. Still happening today.
Still going on today.
In the land of its birth, the birth of the faith of Baha'u'llah, which is Iran, at that time Persia, in the land of its birth, wherein reside the immense majority of its followers, a country whose capital has been hailed by Baha'u'llah as the mother of the world and the dayspring of the joy of mankind, a civil authority as yet undivorced officially from the paralyzing influences. It's like same old stuff is still going on there.
Right.
I didn't finish the sentence, but I just want you to understand this is what these next phrases are going to mean. As yet undivorced officially from the paralyzing influences of an antiquated, a fanatical, and outrageously corrupt clergy, pursues relentlessly its campaign of repression against the adherents of a faith which it has for well nigh a century striven unsuccessfully to suppress. So at the time of this writing, they had been trying to suppress the faith in Iran for almost 100 years. Indifferent to the truth that the members of this innocent and proscribed community can justly claim to rank as among the most disinterested, the most competent, and the most ardent lovers of their native land, contemptuous of their high sense of world citizenship, which the advocates of an excessive and narrow nationalism can never hope to appreciate, such an authority refuses to grant to a faith which extends its spiritual jurisdiction over well nigh 600 local communities and which numerically outnumbers the adherents of either the Christian, the Jewish, or the Zoroastrian faiths in that land, the necessary legal right to enforce its laws, to administer its affairs, to conduct its schools, to celebrate its festivals, to circulate its literature, to solemnize its rites, to erect its edifices, and to safeguard its endowments. Now, we gotta break that.
Yeah.
Because basically what Shoghi Effendi here is saying is, okay, you have this community of people who are simply believers in God, who are believers in this, at that time, new faith, still a new faith, who pose no threat, to the nation, who, how do I say this? Who not only accept their citizenship in that land, but extend spiritually their citizenship to the globe.
And who are national patriots in one sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yet, what he's saying in all of this lovely verbiage, it makes no difference to them. To the clergy, to the ruling clergy, it makes no difference. He says, indifferent to the truth that the members of this innocent and proscribed community can justly claim to rank as among the most disinterested, meaning they're not interested in overthrowing anyone. They just want to practice their faith. I've been going for a while, Daryl.
Yeah. So let's do this.
Okay. Maybe I'm you know what, I always try and choose songs that I feel like, okay, well, that has relevance. And you said, do God made music. And I'm like, well, that doesn't have much to do with today's readings, but I got to tell you, after reading this, maybe it's a nice little switch. Give us a little break here. I do want to say, again, we talked about this. We didn't get a chance to say hello to Alex and Maria and Hushang and Adam and Gila. So hello to all of you. And that's not right. That's not the right.
I told you, Daryl, I'm not there today, man. I'm not there today, and I apologize, folks. I'm a little off today. I just am. Ah.
humanity. His love makes life a symphony. God made music. God made music. God made music to be a lamp for your soul, so let your soul climb, climb, let your soul climb, let it climb, let your soul climb to the realm on high. Let it climb, let it climb. It'll lift you when you're lonely. It soothes the spirit's pain. It strengthens in the hard times till the good times come again. God made music. God made music. God made music to be a lamp for your soul. God made music to be a ladder. God made music to be a ladder. God made music. God made music. God made music to be a lamp for your soul, a lamp for your soul, a lamp for your soul. I hit the wrong button at the end. I'll get it right sometimes.
All right. Oof. And now, recently in the Holy Land itself, the heart and nerve center of a world embracing faith, the fires of racial animosity, of fratricide strife, of unabashed terrorism have lit a conflagration that gravely interferes on the one hand with that flow of pilgrims that constitutes the lifeblood of that center, and suspends on the other the various projects that have been initiated in connection with the preservation and extension of the area surrounding the sacred spots it enshrines. The safety of the small community of resident believers faced by the rising tide of lawlessness has been imperiled. Its status as a neutral and distinct community indirectly challenged, and its freedom to carry out certain of its observances curtailed. In other words, they're stepping all over the faith. A series of murderous assaults, alternating with outbursts of bitter fanaticism, both racial and religious, involving the leaders as well as the followers of the three leading faiths in that distracted country have at times threatened to sever, all normal communications, both within its confines as well as with the outside world. Perilous though the situation has been, the Baha'i holy places, the object of the adoration of a world-encircling faith, have now, notwithstanding their number and exposed position, and though to outward seeming deprived of many of, let me back up. Perilous though the situation has been, the Baha'i holy places, the object of the adoration of a world-encircling faith, have, notwithstanding their number and exposed position, and though to outward seeming deprived of any means of protection, been vouchsafed and a preservation little short of miraculous.
Yeah, they've been preserved. Now, Daryl, before you continue there, I'm looking again at these terms that Shoghi Effendi is using. And of course, he's speaking specifically about Iran and the faith in Iran. But if we took it out of the context, the historical context and the geographical context, this could be here.
It could be here.
This could be right here. And again, taking away the historical and geographical, and we must even say the religious context at this particular point. This is a perfect description for what's happening here right now, and not just here, but again, when I say here, we're talking about the United States. It is just again a perfect description. A series of murderous assaults, outbursts of bitter fanaticism, both racial and religious,
Yep.
involving the leaders as well as the followers of the three leading faiths. I don't know if in a way this is prophetic, even though it was at that time, current.
That's right.
But it's also prophetic because, correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, I can't remember much of what I read before. Is this? Give me a little, not a cliffhanger, a spoiler. Is this kind of a preparation to tell us that it's going to get worse?
Maybe.
You know,
Maybe it's going to get worse before it gets better.
okay, I mean, is he going to be saying? You have to tell me. Is he going to be saying that here?
You'll have to wait and see. I think. So,
I hate to make light of this, but folks, you got to understand. This is my way of dealing with stuff like this. I'll admit I'm the kind of person that if someone were holding a gun on me, I might say, "You got real bullets in that thing." Try and make it a little easier. This is heavy stuff. Okay, all right.
let's go on. A world torn with conflicting passions and perilously disintegrating from within finds itself confronted at so crucial and epic in its history by the rising fortunes of an infant faith, a faith that at times seems to be drawn into its controversies, entangled by its conflicts, eclipsed by its gathering shadows, and overpowered by the mounting tide of its passions. In its very heart, within its cradle, at the seat of its first and venerable temple,